Hi, my name is Abu Francis, and here is another video from Archopus. This time I'm going to talk about how young architects and students who wants internship and young architects who wants jobs, how they should go about applying and getting themselves enrolled in some nice organization. Now, there are many facets to this particular question, and there are many things which may be a little unusual, I think. I keep getting a lot of job applications, and I'm not, at this point in my life, I'm not really a conventional architect. I am an architect who has got his website, and I have done a lot of projects, but lately I've not been doing many because I'm concentrating in another area, also to do with architecture, of course. But I'm not really a regular architect. And then I keep getting applications after applications, and I started thinking that, okay, I think I should start helping these youngsters who are applying for jobs. And a related situation is also there with internships. That's happening even more because they are probably getting pushed by their colleges, and there's some I think it's mandatory to get an internship, and some colleges I think even have 2 sets of internships of 6 months each. Now in this context, there is another angle also which I've seen whenever I teach, and there are these students, suddenly they are not doing their regular work, but they are busy preparing their portfolios. And all this is really sweet and nice in one way, but I think you need to really reorient yourself and understand how your career can unfold, and in what manner can architecture give you a business opportunity or a way to make a healthy life and good money. See, architecture is a foundation subject, and it doesn't seem to be understood from that angle. A lot of architects coming out are very anxious that when will I get a job and what type of work will I do and all that. But as an architect, because the subject is a design foundation, it's one of the most foundational subject, you can actually spring forth in many different directions. You can get into software design, which the way I have got into the software design. Also you can get into product design, you can get into set design, you can get into research. If you are academically oriented, you can there's a whole lot of opportunities which architects have, and it's really sad that the architects coming out are not understanding this. That's point number 1. Point number 2 is a lot of youngsters have a kind of a preconceived notion about what architecture is. They confuse between what they like to do as an architect. Left to themselves, they may want to do some bungalows or interiors or whatever, and they confuse that with that maybe that company would do that. No, that company exists by itself or without knowing you, right? So why would they fit with your dream very accurately? So it's better that you fit to their dream than they fitting to your dream. So I get letters where the potential candidate says that I'm a learning person, I'll be able to learn more. Of course you are going to learn, okay, so that goes without saying. And it's a little irritating when the potential employer is reading your email and he gets to see that person is talking about his learning, and he has got nothing to say about what contribution he wants to make in that company. So when I read a letter saying that, okay, I'm a learning person, of course I'm a learning person. Everybody's a learning person, especially architects are going to be learning persons. They better be. If they're not good architects. So you need to really and research on where you are applying. What are they doing? What is that person doing? What type of works they do? What are their value systems? Do as much research as you can. And then if you mention that, you know what, I saw that building of yours, I went there and I think it was nice, or I don't give false praises. Okay, just say that, okay, but I have certain points to say about a few things which I would like to say in person, something of that sort, which will really catch the attention of that architect who's receiving your email. Write a nice, properly worded cover letter. Okay, what is a cover letter? Cover letter just says these kind of things. Don't say that I'm a learning person and all. Like, okay, you better be. Anyway, I'm sorry, I'm repeating that. And you have to really understand what that architectural firm has done. How are you going to contribute to that? If you cannot say that these are my strengths and these are my weaknesses, weakness is something where you tend to do something because it's interesting, not necessarily it's important. Like, I have a weakness for sweet, or I have a weakness to play PUBG, or I have a weakness to keep working on my WhatsApp or whatever, you know. And I mean, I'm sure many of you feel a little embarrassed talking about your weakness, but you can express it in very politely. What are your strengths? It's called the SWOT analysis. What are your strengths? What are your weakness? What all opportunities do you sense which you think you can exploit for the benefit of that office? That will be nice. And what are the threats which you think you can stop? Like, for example, in this today's situation in architecture, there's a lot of mess. The construction industry has taken a major nosedive, and there are not enough jobs around. So there are a lot of serious threats, and if you can very finely analyze those threats and say, you know, these things are there, and I think if you go into this sector, maybe there is a lot of money and value. That's the way you should construct your cover letter. Never ever put many email addresses and then send them all together. I mean, it is very impolite. That's how spam gets promoted. You have to, if you want to send the same email to multiple people, put it on BCC. Put everybody on BCC, not just one of them is on the main email address and everything else is on BCC. No, put everything on BCC so that nobody knows any other email address which is there. And please do not fake that I'm impressed by your company and things like that. That is not at all impressive. It is not going to convince anybody. If you want to submit your portfolio, I would be interested in knowing, personally, that's the way I look at it, I would be interested in knowing how you did your thesis, because thesis is the thing which will show me how original you are, and people are always looking for originality. We are not looking for clones. So in a thesis, an architecture student is supposed to tell what he or she originally thought through, and that's a very interesting thing to assess. If you really want to send a portfolio, send that. But I'll tell you, most of the architects not even glance at the portfolio. Some of them do, because they want to know how skilled you are at using Lumion and AutoCAD or whatever. I'm not very happy about those kind of architecture firms who's looking at you as Gada Majuri, just some labor who will just sit and work on Lumion like a dumb person. That's wastage of intelligence, according to me, but that's my personal assessment, and that's the way I look at things. But there are architecture firms who may want some special skills which you have, and for that you need to highlight those particular skills. Intelligence always will win, so show certain things that were intelligent. Okay, a wide reading would win. I would be very impressed if that particular student had a blog earlier to this. So instead of spending your time making a portfolio, write a blog, please. It doesn't take any effort. There are many free sites where you can have a blog, and do not even attach these portfolios. You can probably make the blog itself like a portfolio. There are many sites doing where you can do things like that. And What else can I say? uh, Regarding usage of technology, well, I am a pretty unusual person, I think, but I must tell you this particular point of view. I don't get impressed at all by people having faddish attachments to software. Now that may sound that I have an axe to grind with other software companies, but for a moment, put that aside. I want to see an intelligent understanding of such software, not just that I can click here, I can click there, and I can use this menu, and I can do this, and I can create such design. That is not what software is. Software is just a final presentation of a deeper set of things which that software company has done. So if you know programming, for example, mention that, show a few examples of your programming. If you think that that's unusual and that's not what architects do, well, let me surprise you. If you really want to understand what the job market really is, please open your eyes and see what other colleges are doing. Like my own alma mater, which is IIT Kharagpur, all the students there, they are pretty well versed in programming. I had one intern working for me very recently, and she was really good at programming. So there's nothing wrong. It's just like how you use pens and pencils, you use software, writing, not usage of software. So these are the simple set of things which you need to do if you want to get a good job. The other thing is, which I've noticed in some of the discussion forums, is this discussion on money, and that in certain companies they just exploit and all that. Yes, there are some bad companies who are not really paying people well. What you should do is to ask yourself some honest questions on what is known as delayed gratification. Delayed gratification means, see, making money is always a transaction. You have to put some value to somebody, and then you can demand that somebody to pay you for the value which you gave. And the reason why people are guarded about giving money, especially to young, fresh architects, is because they are not fully clear how much value are you going to add to that particular company. Now, this may come as a surprise to you that people are not employing architects, or for that matter anybody, just because that person wants to learn and that person wants to earn some money. I mean, that is the byproduct of the value which you have to give. So the most important thing is sell yourself properly. Sell that, I have become a mature person, I can do this, I understand this is a situation of that architect, and this is the value which I can deliver. If I do this thing, it's valuable for so much. If you do that, it is valuable so much. If you want, you can even spell it out that I have such capacity to render. I have some tricks, or maybe I've written my own software for why not, to make renderings or to do certain calculations, and what others would take 2 days to do those calculations, I know I can do it in 1 hour. And then you say that 2 day worth of such and such person would be so much rupees, and since I did it in 1 hour, obviously you're saving so much money, so you have to give me that much money. I mean, this is an extreme example, but people can do this kind of things, and in other job applications people do that. Say that they establish a value which that person is bringing in. The general rule of the thumb, and that's how capitalism works, is if you are coming into an office and if you are being paid some X amount, you will have to at least bring in 3x or 5x at the very minimum. If you're a senior person, you're expected to bring in 10x that amount. So if I pay somebody 1 lakh, then that person has to contribute around 10 lakhs. As not that he brings in 10 lakhs, but he has to do worth which is so valuable. That's how that company can remain healthy. Imagine if a young architect comes and all he does or she does is just learn in that office and is not really contributing to the income that office is earning, then how will that office survive? So this has created a major problem because there is little distrust from both the sides, and therefore the thing drops down, the value drops down, and you are not able to demand your value, and the people who are giving the jobs, they are exploiting the situation. Some of them are exploiting the situation, and they are not giving the right amount. So please try to look at from that company's point of view. You have to have empathy to what is going on there. This is not some academic institute that you just come and just do something or the other and I'll earn my money. That's not how it works. Okay, there are certain lacuna in our education. In architecture, we are not taught business, we are not taught business management, we are not taught economics, we are not taught accounting. These are all very serious deficiencies, if you ask me, and you really need to spend a little bit time. There are plenty of material on YouTube, and there are plenty of PDF files around. It's a rich time for getting good information if you really search for them. And unfortunately, people don't do that, and they just depend on the WhatsApp university to give you feedback, and you end up presenting a very sorry face when we receive your email. So instead, you try to understand what is the basics of economics. How does the economics of a country works roughly? Like, what is the shareholding principle? If you can delay gratification, you may even join a company. And there are many, many instances where this has happened, not necessarily in architecture, where that guy has joined for a very small amount, that is a monthly, but he had the capacity to delay the gratification and then earn a really good amount of money as a shareholder of that company, because he gets what is known as what is that term they use? The employees also given equity. Just forgetting the term which is used in this discussion. So these soft options which are there has to be understood, and you can ask yourself, okay, how much does it make? Okay, I have to live for next 8 months with a bare minimum salary. Okay, but then the terms and conditions say is that I'll get so much percentage equity in that company. Now, people don't even know what the hell is equity, so you need to know what is equity. And you may think that, oh, that's a pretty worthwhile thing because I can see the trajectory of the company and how it is growing. I'll give you my own example. When I joined Hafiz, there were only 8 people in that office. I was the 8th guy who joined when Hafiz had started. And coincidentally or whatever, I was not really looking at money as such as the first criteria. Not that I'm from a wealthy background at all. Okay, I used to stay in a 1-room apartment, my family, but I think the capacity to delay gratification was there, and I could sense that it would be pretty interesting to work there and contribute something over there. And sure enough, I was quickly made an associate in a few months, and if I look at my combined money in terms of the salary and my associateship, it was more than healthy. So you have to ask yourself, what is it that you really want? How much of it can you delay the gratification? How much value do you put on the table very sensibly? And don't talk, we are not interested in people who are not learning at all. So there's no question of somebody says, oh, I do not want to learn at all, I'll just do whatever you say. Those people will never get employed. So why are you even mentioning that you are going to be a learning person and you will learn a lot of stuff from you? That sounds little one-sided, actually, more than one-sided. It feels that, okay, you're going to come here, you're going to read books and everything and not really do anything, and because you want to be a learning person. I'm sorry if I sound little sarcastic, but please grow up and understand all these things, and that is how you can really get a career going. Try to look at some stories on the net on other people having their career. How did people get a job in Facebook? How did people get a job at Google? And not just the current stories, but the stories of very, very young companies which later on became very big companies. So it's important that you become a healthy contributor for that company to grow. And that'll be fantastic, isn't it? It will be a beautiful experience that you became an important part of that particular company and added value to that particular company. So I hope this is helpful for you. And in Archopus, we are trying to develop a lot of material for young architects and young students to understand architecture from all 360-degree angle on various different aspects of understanding and learning architecture. So this is just one sample of that. I'll be probably discussing some of these topics a lot more in detail, and there will be other mentors who will also guide you, and I hope to see you in my next videos. Thank you so much.